It's really rocking. Oh my
Pop Gen Fusion.
All right. Let me ask you something. This is a very serious question.
Okay.
What does a weeb mean to you?
What does a weeb mean to you?
What is a weeb?
I think you're looking like a weeb right now. Yo, the weebies are weebs right now with
The
those
weebies.
glasses on.
Listen, if being a weebie is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Well, you ain't right wearing those things, buddy.
Listen, at Pop Gen Fusion, this is weeb heaven on earth. I don't know.
Okay.
Welcome, guys. This is episode 3 of Pop Gen Fusion, where we talk about anime, movies, music, etc., and we fuse them together with our creative experiences.
Creative experiences and fandom.
Absolutely. My name is Pandy. I am the creator of Go Ganzi, the first physical manga from my own studio, Lair Studios, which we are actually filming Pop Gen Fusion inside the Lair. And my very handsome guest over here. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Gary Gibbs II, aka Okami. I'm a voiceover artist and the founder of Command Grab Entertainment, who is an audio video company, and we are partnered with Moonlight Studios to bring you dynamic manga.
Absolutely, yes. Tell us when this dynamic manga will be coming out.
2023.
2023. So if you have not picked up the book yet, please pick up the book. You can go to moonlairstudios.com to get yourself a copy. This is first edition.
First edition.
Do we know how rare that is for a first edition?
Very
Well, it's very rare. So definitely cop that. Huh?
Producer says,
tell me take my glasses
take
off.
those glasses off.
I hear you guys through the internet. I know you want me to keep rocking these Squirtle Squad, Gurren Lagann, Hot Fire. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Alrighty then.
What do we got for the show today?
Let's talk about the age-old question that's been going on for eons and eons.
I feel I need these glasses for this. This is epic.
Is it?
Put the glasses back on. Go ahead.
Do your thing. Do your thing, Pandy. We are talking about subs and dubs of anime. We're back on the subject of anime. We talked about anime on episode 2. Some of our intermediate, beginner, and the experts
Just hurting my nose.
level animes that you should get into. Check out that episode.
Yes. Absolutely.
But today we're continuing the conversation of anime, talking about people's experiences, or the experiences of the differences and similarities of anime when you're watching it Japanese. It's dubbed both ways, but Japanese dubs and English dubs, and we just refer to the Japanese dubs as subs because that's how most people watch them, because they can't understand most of the Japanese that they are listening to.
And for all of our kind of diverse watchers, what is subs short for?
Subtitles.
Yes, that's right. Subtitles. Yeah. See, we try to educate you guys out here and stuff.
Bet you didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, and the dub, obviously, you're dubbing over the voice.
Yes.
For whatever language you're in and stuff like that.
Yes.
So yes, we'll definitely we're going to talk about that today. So what's your thought on it? Let's just
My thoughts on what exactly?
So I guess subs versus dubs. Like, is it versus, or is one better or is one worse?
Well, the World Wide Web, I bet a lot of people have ever heard that. They probably don't know what www means. It means World Wide Web. No, but the internets would have you think that it is versus. But I think it's more like and. It's subs and dubs, not subs versus dubs.
Yeah.
So now when I got into anime, many eons ago, moons ago, as it were, it was, you were getting your anime on tape. Now they did have Japanese dubs with subs, but they were rare that you would see on sale. They existed.
Yeah.
But most of the time, if you're going to buy anime, it was dubbed, it was English dubbed. And I think like that was the idea of it. It was like, if these companies are buying rights to these animes, we're gonna like have like people voice over like their cartoons or animation, and we're gonna just dub it over. But I think there are purists who wanted the original languages in it. So my experience, it was like I said, it was easier to get your hands on a dub than a sub. So most, I guess, anime fans my era got into listening to dubs, and you got used to listening to English language dubs. But then there was this idea that they were somehow inferior. Now there's this contingent of people who think that they are, and it's like a thing now. It's like a war between subs and dubs. You would see them in the comment sections on YouTube videos, on TikToks and Twitter polls and Instagram and forums and all sorts of things.
It's a war out there.
It's a war out there. And people think that you should only experience it that one way.
Yeah, I mean, I do think I think in certain times, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna always come back to this. In certain times, I do think one kind of beats the other one out. So it's good that you say like and.
In certain situations, I do think that there are advantages to both.
Yeah, and I would just say for the first thing that sort of I would say dub sort of beats out sub is, for me, being an artist, I'm studying movement. I want to look at what's on the screen without quickly looking at the words and then quickly looking back up or missing what they said and have to rewind it and stuff like that. So I know for me, being an artist, I'm kind of
you want to be able to eat your cereal and watch it at the same time.
Exactly, because I look down. No, it's one of those things of like, it is kind of greedy. And I've always said this, I felt like I've kind of paid my dues being a little bit of an older anime fan, where I'm like, I feel I paid my dues of like, I don't want to have to like read it. Now there are certain things that I will read, but I would, there are certain times that I would do that. So there are times where dubs, for me, I feel sort of beat out subs.
Yeah, I used to joke with a friend of mine who, when we were watching anime at that time we were only watching subs, because seemed like I could only get my hands on to. That was like the age of like watching stuff on the internet a lot, like when the big three started, like they weren't licensed yet. It was Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. Okay. And it was kind of like, hey, did you watch this episode yet? He's like, well, I can't really watch it yet because I'm about to eat. I can't really eat. And I'm like, what? So I used to joke with him and say, man, you gotta use your Sharingan to you ain't awakened to watch it. Because I feel like I can watch anime, and because I read kind of fast, I guess. So I can eat and watch at the same time. It's nothing for me.
Now, do you think that's, now let me ask you this, do you think that's because you are watching it on a DVD or VHS? If you were watching it live subbed, would you feel that way?
No, I don't think it's because I'm not pausing it.
Well, okay, because sometimes it's that comfortability of like, I can just pause it, like, just to read it. But if there's some high stakes of like, wait, what did he say?
Well, I don't think I've ever watched it live. I've always had the ability to rewind it if need be. I'm watching it on when I was watching, like I said, they weren't over yet, so we were downloading them from fan sub sites, and it was like the biggest deal to be able to watch this stuff that we downloaded on a TV. Because before, when you were downloading movies on the internet, you had to kind of watch them on your computer, right? But we had got these. It's called Plex now, but it's called Kodi now. Some people may know who streamed Kodi and Plex or whatever. It was Xbox Media Centers. We had modded Xboxes, like the original Xbox, the original Xbox, and you could put a chip inside. You can mod it, and you can. There was this software called Xbox Media Center, and you were able to kind of like play your AV files, which are video files, on there, and then obviously your Xbox is plugged into your TV, so it's like, yo, we can download shows and movies and anime, and we could watch it on our TVs. It's like great. So I'm able to kind of watch it, all this stuff, on our TV, like it's like it's on TV, but it's not, or like a DVD or whatever. So I'm watching it subbed and because that was kind of what was out right at the time. There was no Crunchyroll. The only time there were DVDs at this time, but like it was very expensive, and so, unless you knew that you was gonna like it, you were gonna buy it. There was no way to kind of like screen in advance. The only stuff that you had seen like on TV was stuff that was like on Cartoon Network, like the Outlaw Stars, and so you knew you wanted to get that kind of stuff. So at that time, I guess that was the only way I kind of got out of dubs, because up until this point I was watching dubs all the time. And then when I guess it was like, hey, I want to watch these anime shows that never came out, that aren't here yet, that aren't licensed yet. We're downloading. I think there was a site called Anime Suki or Anime Ski or whatever. And it was like they would show you, they would link to all these other fan sub sites, and you can download them and you can watch, what was hot or whatever. So I got used to it. Was like the first time in my life that I was watching like subtitle stuff like regularly. Because before I was like, I'm watching the dub. Why am I doing that? I've always had I've always had the love for the dub. Even, I mean, there were bad dubs.
Well, because of the voice. So so this is what's kind of really like interesting just about our show, is just because like we're kind of in we're in the field of this stuff. So there's things that like there are things that we're both sort of coming from our sort of creative experiences. So you said you've always had a thing for dub. Is that just because because you're a voice actor? Is that something that you do you appreciate the dub?
I appreciate the dub because, well, yeah, it was my first experience. I'm an English speaker, so I'm understanding what English people are speaking, and I've always loved the idea of voiceover artists, whether it be anime or not. A lot of it Western. I mean, I'm talking about like from Bugs Bunny to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Animaniacs to SWAT Cats to anime, and all levels of Disney stuff. I love the idea of the voiceover, and then there's this idea that I guess came about that somehow American voiceover artists, English speaking voiceover artists, are somehow inferior to Japanese voiceover. Yeah. And I think that's weird.
Interesting. So, I mean, I guess we touched on it a little bit, but what do you think was what was the group that you think sort of got that sort of rep, like
of being bad?
Yeah. Don't you say it?
No, I don't really know, because I feel like each group, because then you get into the conversation of like censorship. You know what I'm saying? Like changing words out.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna talk
and that's a whole different.
That is, yeah.
I mean, it's a conversation that goes alongside it, but it is a different conversation.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So that being said, I think there are different. I think each studio had a bad dub, but I feel like some of these mainstream Japanese ones probably have bad dubs. We just don't know.
And that's and
some of them we do know.
Yeah,
like they may not sound good.
No, and I mean, like, and that's something that I feel is going to be interesting, because like, knowing a little bit about how things are sort of dubbed, and especially if it is going to be dubbed, from a different language and stuff like that, certain lengths of words are going to be shorter or longer. So as a voice actor, you got to do the best you can. And back in the day, sometimes they used to, and to my understanding, they kind of used to run it kind of like a chop shop of like, all right, how many almost like kung fu movies, like, how many videos we got? Man, we got 50. All right, we got to dub 50 in one night, or we got to dub 20, and they use the same thing.
It's all about efficiency and stuff like that.
And so,
in hindsight, it was a bad idea, but it's kind of what they had.
Yeah, so. No, and I mean, sometimes they produce classic things. They again, talking about some of the kung fu movies and stuff, like some of the voices. I mean, Bruce Lee's sort of like cat calls, or like cat scream and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure they kind of they superimpose some of those things and stuff like that. So I mean, there's definitely some like pros and cons of dubbing, but yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but listen,
you took me on this journurney, and then you kind of just dropped me off around the block, and then you said, "Hey, kid,
it's
you got to make it there on your own."
No, exactly.
Like, what are you? Where, you told me you're gonna take me to?
Listen, to the promised land. Do you think so? So we talked about Ocean Dub, like, and I know some people kind of got onto like Ocean Dub about that, but
I think the problem with Ocean Dub was like, first of all, let's bring it back to episode 2. There in the first rule of Pop Gen Fusion is there's no slander to Ocean Dub.
absolutely not. No, they come over here to have dinner, tea and ice cream. I don't know,
But I think the problem with Ocean Dub, like what the people's problems with Ocean Dub was just purely just the censorship, not the voiceover. It was just the censorship that and some people felt they put too many extra sound effects in some of the stuff.
Really?
I thought that they did amazing with those.
I thought so too.
But here's my main thing about like this, the dubs and subs conversation is it's funny because they even have these new generation weaves, and then a lot of the new generation weaves are actually cool. Like they're dressed nice and they look handsome, and they're beautiful and they got TikTok followers and stuff like that.
Where's my sunglasses?
We're not talking about you. We're old. But like I remember one of them, I forgot his name, but he did like a rap, and it was like
JoJo Pose?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think it was. I don't know his name. He could be, but he did this really cool rap, and but one of the lines he was like, if she like it was like on the equivalent, if she like subs, don't talk to her, something like that. It was like, wow. I was like, really?
Wow.
It was like,
yeah, they really coming?
but it was like a joke, but it was like,
yeah.
you know, it was kind of like, really?
Sub of a dub, that's a word of advice. And if she watching dub, I can't make her my wife. Nah, I can't make her my wife. If she watching dub, I can't make her my wife. Nah, I can't make her my wife. Nah, I can't make her my wife.
Because my thing is, you know, if we both watch the same show, and mine is dub versus yours is sub, we walk away knowing the same amount of information.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, the same person died, same person lived, the same
true.
person had an epic fight. Just sometimes, like, you just may be familiar with a specific voice. Like, nothing, some stuff does land better Japanese, but that just depends on your director.
No, that's definitely true. And you're still getting third party information, because through subtitles you're hoping that they translated it right and stuff like that. And with dubbing, you're hoping that the guy can say this really long name in this short name flap or a mouth flap. So yeah, translation or
to your point, like when you were talking about like you're hoping that through third party information, right? I was watching My Hero Academia. Or Boku no Hero Academia, if you want to be all weeby about it. Now, and one of the characters, he was a villain. He was attacking his sensei. He said the word Jamata as he was charging to her. And me knowing the little bit of Japanese that I know, that means like see you or see you later or whatever. That's kind of it's an informal way of saying bye.
Okay,
it's like slang, right? So he's being crude talking to him, but he was charging at him, about to kill him, saying see you. But they translated, and this is in Japanese dub, but this subtitle to it was like it had nothing to do with see you, but it was another word. It's another word you could say if you're about to kill somebody, but it wasn't see you. But that's still, you're leaving it up to translators to do it, because they're still writing it for an English audience. So I don't understand this idea that you feel like you're saying it's somehow more authentic.
Yeah, because like what you said, at the end of the day, we're both receiving this same information, right? So like that. I do think like with the subs, I like watching historical pieces, subtitled. It's very weird. I'm watching
like samurai epics and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like 13 Samurai. Like I tried watching the dub and I was like, I can't do this. Like I can't.
It's funny because when I first got into anime and you watch, like I said, I was watching everything dub. All these stuff is English speaking, but they're speaking English, and I'm still kind of feeling like I'm kind of getting myself into Japanese culture. But even if it's dubbed,
no. And so I think the care, and that's really up to the studio and the director, how much care they put into it, and sort of like I used to love the little yellow subtext up at the top. It was English dub, but they would put a subtitle text up there just to kind of like tell you a little bit of the holiday or the costume. I mean, obviously they would do that in the subtitles, but sometimes they would put it up there and so like that. So
you kind of did it a little bit in Go Ganzi by explaining like little notes you're explaining, kind of thing. It's different than a sub in the anime, but
Yeah.
it's kind of explaining what you're talking about.
And I mean, they kind of do that when they translate into English the manga. They'll either do the sound effects, they'll do like you know little like customs and stuff like that. So, but no, I definitely think that with certain pieces, I do feel there's an authenticity to it. Even though I'm reading it and it's still up to that translator's. I'm hoping that they'll give me the right information. Those yells, those like the sound effects that the actors are doing, I don't think it's hard to kind of reproduce that. It's this may be controversy number one. I think it's really hard for Americans to reproduce some of these sounds that the Japanese voice actors are doing.
Maybe hard pressed to reproduce the exact sound, but you can give the same tone. I am a voiceover artist. Yes. I believe it's possible.
No, it's
just to let you guys know.
No, that's true. But like it's. I remember watching this sort of interview where this woman was like, they were like, she had to copy the voice of the Japanese sort of counterpart of that she's dubbing and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And even like now it's become very popular to be like this sort of like really like that's something that we like only in movies if we're dying and stuff like that. But if someone says like something like, I don't know. Now that sound is not hard to reproduce, but
I get what you. I kind of get what you're going at. Yeah, I just think because our languages are different. We kind of produce different sounds. That's why when there's a certain translation to things, like for instance, if you're gonna cast like with Luffy from One Piece and Goku, they're both voiced by, or in the Live Cat, they're voiced by women, right? Yeah. And they have these higher pitched sounds. It doesn't sound weird that they sound like that. It's like, oh, I guess a male could sound like that, right? But if you're gonna hire them in English, you don't kind of have them talk like that. Although Luffy's is kind of a high pitch. I don't know if I think they did I wouldn't have went that direction with it. But like with Goku specifically, they got it, or even Kenshin, because Kenshin's voiced by a woman in
I didn't know that.
and Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. They're all voiced by women. And
even if you die, it doesn't make the people you killed come back to life. That it does not.
This portal, I know it contains every secret alchemy has to offer. However, it's also led me astray.
This guy's too much. The double Kaioken attack won't work. I guess I'll try a triple.
I can't believe I've gotten this much stronger.
In Japanese, but I feel like if you translate those to English, you have to get that male a little bit more of a deeper, and they're not deep voices by any means, but they sound like men when they translate them to English, because just the way we speak and how an English speaker speaks. It just sounds different. So you won't always reproduce those exact sounds. But I think you can still convey the same thing across.
No, definitely. But just to like give like like subs that sort of like push for me on certain things, like Hajime no Ippo. Like I can watch that in subtitles all day because the yells, the like there's this gravel, there's this like I mean and like there's something different. There's really something different. Now I'm not like we're talking about there's times where we would be like, oh, this is why I like dubs, this is why I like subs. For that, I like subs. Like I like subs for
the yells and the grunts.
The yells, the grunts, these little nuances that sort of our speaking way doesn't really utilize that much.
I mean, there are those ways in I guess all of our languages, right? The little kind of speaking under your breath kind of sounds like better in English. Like, like if I'm talking to you, I'm like, man, I don't know what you're talking about. Like if I'm saying it like that, you think about that. That's not a way they speak in Japanese. You know what I'm saying?
Because it's more, no, you're right. It's more of a whisper. Whenever they do it, they be like, no. It's very like sort of breathy, but with you, it's sort of like you're hiding what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's a mumble.
Right.
So no, I totally agree. So so again, this is kind of a good conversation of like back and forth. They serve, they both serve this sort of purpose.
I think that and we spoke about this before. There are certain nuances. There's certain things you get when you can understand the language 100%, right? Yeah. Versus like I'm listening to it in Japanese. It sounds good, and I know the word because I've seen it written. Especially when it's something that they don't translate, like the word like osan, which means like old man or whatever, or oyaji or like master. You hear it right, and you sound that's cool, right? But like when we talked about like Ranma 1/2, and the line when Genma we find out that he sells Ranma for like a pittance just so he gets some food, right? You get the comedy. It's they had to translate it. He says something. You sold me for one crummy little fish, and he says he threw in the rice and 2 pickles.
You sold me for one crummy little stinking fish, huh?
He also threw in the rice and 2 pickles.
What kind of father are you?
You're not able to recite that if you're speaking in Japanese. You know that's what he said because it's with his subtitles. But you don't. And then he hits him. He says, "What kind of father are you?" You hear that in his voice, and it sounds because it's dubbed. And you know as an English speaker how that's supposed to sound.
No, absolutely. And I feel like with like sort of like the whole like sort of meme culture, the whole like Fist of the North Star, you're already dead thing. It like because we've never heard it. It's like wing nani. So it's. So I feel like the more information that we get, but you're right. Back in the day, like we would tell people what would happen if we watched a subbed video. But with a dub, you could actually repeat it.
Yeah, you could repeat it.
Foolish boy. Yeah. And then he did
like a whole line.
And you could do the inflections and all that stuff.
It's little words like that in Japanese. I don't know. Like I don't know if nani is big over there because it just means what but I mean even with that it's there's something strong about it like, but that's because they're foreigners to we're foreign to them, you know what I'm saying? Like we don't live there, so it's like a big deal. Like,
that's true.
Like my best example is like a recent example is Jujutsu Kaisen, and I don't know if y'all hit that episode yet because I know you're watching it. It's like best of friend though. And it's like because he's saying it sounds funny and it sounds cool because he's speaking English. Like he's Japanese speaking, saying English words. But I don't know if if you listen to that dub, I don't know if it hits the same because he's saying,
my best friend. That's more like it. My new best friend.
And
JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, is yada yada does it, which means like it's like kind of troublesome, like whatever. I know if it's like like Mendokusai, which is like Shikamaru. He says that in Japanese. He's from Naruto, and he says that, which means kind of troublesome. It's like it's a bother. So you find little things to change it and translate it to. But those little buzzwords like that, I can understand that being appealing for a person who likes to watch it sub.
No, absolutely. And kind of like what we talked about, it's you're kind of getting an insight to sort of a culture, so you're kind of learning on these things. I know very early on, I noticed whenever they had like with subs, they had like delinquents or Japanese gangsters like yakuzas. Whenever they would talk, they would roll their R's. They'd be like, Baraka. And it was just very, and I was like, I noticed there's a difference here. When they're talking to someone else, there's no other,
It's funny you say, because I, if you may not, but honestly, I'm a big pro wrestling fan, and that's all across the board. Like I love Japanese style wrestling and puroresu. But when they're speaking on the mic and they're kind of like going on each other, they're doing the harsh rolling of their tongues, like kind of like that stuff you see the delinquent type of stuff.
It was so, and it's fascinating when you pick up these little things and stuff like that. And a lot of like and I'm this is just my so my mother is British, and obviously the whole like
she's a Brit.
She's a
Brit. She? No, I'm talking like
but the whole like, oi, like, you know, and I mean, we know like, Britain, had a big sort of like spread to a lot of places in the world from, China, I'm pretty sure to Japan. So it's weird just to like, like, oi, like, but yeah, it was just fascinating, like seeing those differences and stuff like that, and trying to come up with maybe those sort of connections of like, I wonder why they did that, or I wonder why they did, do this. Yeah. Because even the delinquent hairstyle was like 1950s Americana,
the slick back,
So
going on.
Yeah, so it's
pull out the
the
comb knife,
just slick that back.
We gotta bring that back.
We do. Actually. Here on Pop Jam, we're hitting it with the Turtle Squad, the Squirtle Squad sunglasses, and the slick back. That's how we rolling in 2023 next year.
It's like the cool thing, you about to cut somebody,
and
but then you just start combing your hair.
Especially when they're like, huh, and they're like this. Segue into that, localization. Is that a dirty word?
Yes.
Cool.
No, it's funny because like I don't like it in like video games and stuff like that.
Explain.
Like for instance, like I'm a big fan of the Ace Attorney series.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, you know what? There's some aspects of that I do like better, but like for instance, he's not Phoenix Wright in that. He's like, I forgot his name in Japanese. But anyway, one of the things he does a lot is he goes to ramen shops. And in the translated version of that, he's eating hamburgers instead. It's not, like,
okay. I see that. Yeah. No, I definitely. So, Dragon Ball Z gets kind of accused of like I feel like the older stuff like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z got a lot of that sort of localization change just to kind of get people kind of into it a little.
To be clear, I'm not against localization overall.
Oh no, yeah, no.
I'm just but no, because sometimes you gotta translate it a little bit because it's just certain things just don't hit.
And it's just one of those things,
just a little bit, not a lot.
Yeah, just a little bit. And again, we talk about this. I don't think this is like localization, but like certain censorships and stuff like that, especially if you want to be like, this be a great TV show, but
I don't know if I believe in censorship per se.
Okay,
but
so
like when they brought One Piece over, the worst.
So when they did the censorship for Yu-Gi-Oh, I knew something was up when they're holding the hand and he's like pointing at him. I knew something was up, but like I was like, I really didn't mind it. And just to go back a little further, when Gohan in Dragon Ball Z, the Saiyan saga, when Gohan transformed into the monkey, and then Piccolo cut off his tail and he shrunk back down, and there was a little bush. Yeah, there's a little tree bush.
A little leaf is where his private parts.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't really mind that. There's certain
that
things,
I don't mind.
Yeah.
But.
And so I feel sometimes like the censorships and localizations can kind of like get people into that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you could have the opposite effect, like me, that scared living dead outside of me when you got the uncut version of Dragon Ball Z and you found that instead of spit and spit, it was actually blood. Like, because remember they had like the black mark here and stuff like that. I always thought that was just dirt, and then I watched the uncut, and
I was old enough to know what it was, and to me, I never, when I initially watched it, I never knew that it was. That was edited. I just thought that was. Yeah. I thought I knew it was edited. I didn't know if it was edited. Like they took it out on purpose. I just thought they were like modified it. Like that's how it was their initial intent. Like for instance, like when Goku went to like the afterlife and they showed like the demons had like hell on their shirt, but it was like HE.
Yeah,
I thought that's how it was. I thought it was initial. I thought it was supposed to be funny. Like it was initially written like it. Not that it actually said hell and they edited it out. I thought it was supposed to be like
some of that stuff. You got to give people credit for. That's clever.
It's
like
not,
I mean, they were.
Is it clever or is it just ended up being clever?
So it ended up being clever, but to actually
Ocean
go
Dub,
in,
but I love them.
I know, no, but to actually go in and kind of like get rid of that and be like, man, dude, we got to get. Okay, that's the wrong word, clever. But it takes some like, man, how can we fix this? Because like we can't delete the whole scene.
Yeah.
So now we have to go extra work. And again, just as an artist, like any sort of like correction or rething, and it's already done.
Yeah,
that's a pain in the butt. So, now let me ask you something. What do you think in your opinion? What do you think? So you already mentioned kind of One Piece about kind of like, you know, localization and
specifically like well,
which one do you think they shouldn't have did, like just out of any anime like that you know they sort of like localized?
Well, definitely One Piece.
Okay.
That's the biggest one, I think, because I think a lot of the other ones were a little bit more harmless. Like, I know that Yu-Gi-Oh! And like, if you ever read the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga, and
you think they kind of
Shaman King, the initial Shaman King, they did edit both of them.
Yeah, they did.
But they were still, I think they're still kind of like geared towards kids. They made little edits here and there, like. They were probably like little jokes didn't land. Like there was like, you know, little pervy jokes and like that, stuff like that. I, as a purist in that sense, I wouldn't have wanted it, but in hindsight, those are okay compared to what they did with One Piece. That I felt like that was a trap. That whole thing was a trap. They shouldn't even put it on. If they're gonna do that, they shouldn't have put it on for kids. And I feel like that wasn't that. You're not thinking about the long game with that. I thought that was just kind of like, I don't want to say greed, because when 4Kids bought that, at this point, One Piece is still was like in the 300s or something like that episode. It was going to be a long series, and I just feel like with American television, besides Pokemon, maybe they thought there was going to be Pokemon. What's it stayed on that long? Like I feel like the American networks take stuff off real quick.
But you know, I gotta admit, with One Piece, it looked cartoony.
It did.
It looked mad cartoony. If I was an executive, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, clean this up. Clean this up. No, we can't have this. Like, look at."
But there's so much stuff that you knew. Like maybe because I knew. Like for instance, right? There's a part in the early. It's like one of the big early arcs, and Nami, she takes a knife. She has a tattoo of this Arlong, the pirate. She's part of this pirate gang. She never really wanted, but she joined it for a specific purpose. They betrayed her. So she was taking the knife, and she was so frustrated she was stabbing her arm. Like she was like I hate this mark on my arm. And you know she was like screaming. She's like, screaming. She's like, she's stabbing herself. I was like, that's not making it to you know 4Kids television, right?
Yeah, and but I mean, even like, you know, it definitely served a purpose. Like kids were probably like, yo, I love One Piece and stuff like that. You know, I need more, and then they find out like, oh, like there's more to this, and you know, of course they're growing up. So
I guess I don't know how that looked from a child's point of view, because I was already like a young adult, and I was like already like a fan. So when it got licensed, I remember there was like a bidding war for it, and I was reading, because a lot of these companies wanted it, and I was like, oh man. And then her 4Kids guy was like, yo, this is gonna be some trash. Wow, and then
I remember that. Honestly.
But they had but my friend still to this day, he says, yo, say what you want, but that opening rap joint they did was fire.
I'll be king of the pirates. I'm gonna be king. That's Monkey D. Luffy.
Like he still thinks that is still good. Like I still like. I mean, he still likes We Are, the original version of it, but he thinks the rap 4Kids version is tight.
Again,
it's not bad.
It's not bad. And actually, on future episodes, we're gonna be talking about some openings that are just super amazing, like
Cruel Angel Thesis. Cruel Angel Thesis.
If you haven't seen
refer to episode 2,
just skip over that one. No, because I feel like openings back in the day, like, you know, 80s and 90s, dude, there was full productions. There was almost studio quality openings. Like, I mean, they were amazing. But we will definitely come back to that, because that's a whole.
I mean, I want to get to American. You know, we talking about American? Yeah. Because Japanese, they haven't really stopped. That's more of an American thing.
I'm talking about American stuff. So my thing that I felt like there was no reason to do localization Samurai Pizza Cat. That to me was kind of a missed opportunity because first of all, you already changed the name, but you kept the sort of like cultural reference, samurai.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking this is going to be about samurais.
Yeah.
There was so much Hollywood reference.
There was a lot, but I liked it.
I could not stand it because they were like, "Get these cameras off me," and you're like, "There's no. What are you talking about?" And I didn't know this, but the big cheese, that wasn't a rat. That was a fox.
Oh,
I didn't know that either. So I watched a lot of documentaries, and yeah, they changed it because it was a cat. It was cats, and they needed a mouse, but they were like localization, like cats.
You know
and
what?
mouse.
I haven't watched Samurai Pizza Cat in years, and I want to watch that in Japanese.
He has like a big tail, but I always thought it was like, oh, it was, big cheese. I don't really know why he has a big tail like that, but yeah, he was supposed to be like a fox, and in Japanese culture, like like foxes are like really kind of like like sneaky and stuff like that. But yeah, no, that I felt was like really like it was unnecessary, and they had so many things that they they would do things that you could tell were really very kind of Japanese culture, but then they'd be like, it's the Macy's Day Parade, like, and I'm using this voice. If you haven't seen The Big Cheese, that's how he talks.
You should don't worry. Who could resist such a pretty face as this? What?
So, but they would do these things. They'd be like, oh, what did they say? Like, and sometimes it would be borderline like kind of adult. Like they'd be like, this guy's more faker than Michael Jackson's nose, and you're like, wait, what? Like, this is a kid show.
Well, no, but see, the thing is, this is what I love.
Looney Tunes.
That's what I was gonna say.
It was almost Tiny Toons.
Because Tiny Toons and Looney Tunes, like, they always slip in because adults are making these shows at the end of the day. So unless you're doing the Barneyest of type of shows, and maybe I'm aging myself even with a Barney reference. There's gonna be some adult things that slip into any cartoon. Because adults are making it. You can't help yourself.
Nah, that's true. You're like, I mean, you need to have.
It's not crude. It's just more like stuff that may go over some kid's head.
Yeah.
But there'll always be some young person watching it and be like, oh, I get that joke.
No, absolutely. But that was Samurai Pizza Cat.
I didn't realize it was that Hollywood. Yeah. I mean, I did, but I didn't realize how chopped up it was.
And it was so breaking the fourth wall. Every second they'd be like, they had this one guy who was like the police chief, and he was like, I need to talk to my agent. I'm not getting enough lines. And you're like,
that's kind of fun. I don't know. I like fourth wall break.
But
it depends on what it is.
But the characters were so cool looking. Like
Freakazoid. They did a lot of fourth wall.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of American, and they were like like Spielberg, and they were on the Warner Brothers.
You're right.
But this was so Japanese that I was like, yo, this these cats look so cool.
Yeah.
Like, and they were naming them like Speedy
Cerviche.
Speedy
Cerviche. He's the leader of the bunch. Heck of a bag. Heck of a lunch. And little polyester.
There's Speedy Cerviche. He's the leader of the bunch. That's right. A heck of a fighter makes a heck of a lunch. And little polyester, who's never afraid of going into battle with the bad guys invade.
Dude, if you haven't, I like it because it's nostalgic.
Yeah.
Like I like it, but I cannot watch too much of it, because then I'm like, man, I want to know what they're saying.
Yeah.
And so I would have to go to, sub. But localization sometimes, brings you into certain things where you like, yo, this looks so cool. I want to know more and stuff like that. I used up all my I used up all the energy on that because that was because I was like yo, why are they doing this? So
the thing about the subs and dubs is, I mean, localization is bad. No, most of the time it's the subs and dubs conversation that I don't think that Japanese people, they don't care about it as much as we do. Meaning that if a property of ours gets subbed, goes over there, they going to dub it.
Yeah. Oh,
I remember, that stands out to me. I remember when Harry Potter, it was, big, and it's still big, but like when it was like pop culture phenomenon. I remember reading an article because I like to kind of stay up on little news, Japanese news or whatever. At the time, they were really happy that this one actor, this Japanese actor, got casted to play Harry Potter for the dub voice, because he was popular. You know, they're gonna cast their own,
absolutely,
their own, so they can understand it and watch it, and they still walk away knowing what happens with Harry Potter. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't,
I feel you, yeah. And actually, just going into that, like, I'm impressed with some people who know the Japanese voice actors. They be like, and give it up for my man, he's back in the role, and I'm like, okay, I didn't know. Like, has he done more? He'd be like, you need to check his record. Like, and he has a list of, like, this Japanese actor has a list of, like, these voices that he's done.
Yeah.
And again, to my untrained ear and stuff like that, like, I'm like,
some stand out.
How do you know the difference?
The one that stands out to me the most is, and I feel like he should have got more roles. The actor who plays, I don't know the name off the top of my head. He plays Zoro in One Piece, right? But he also is the voice of Mugen in Samurai Champloo. Now, you watch Samurai Champloo? Did you watch it dubbed or sub?
I gotta be real with you. I watched it all dubbed.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it was presented to me on Cartoon Network, and I thought they did a great job.
To me, I watched it first in Japanese because it was one of those things. I wasn't watching it subtitled because I preferred it. It's just because it was the quickest way to watch it. Like, I watched it before it was licensed.
Man, it was a big deal when it was like premiering. Yeah. Like, it was like, yo, this is what you've been waiting for.
I was like, I already seen it. But I watched it again. Like, but like,
remember exactly where I was when I watched it.
And the cool thing for English speaking people is that, you know, obviously there's the similarities between Mugen and Spike.
Yeah.
They're voiced by the same actor.
Absolutely.
You know,
cool voice. You know, just smooth voice. I'm saying.
Steve Bloom.
Yeah. No,
I'm Steve Bloom.
No, and now.
Steve Bloom went under another name too. I think David Lucas, because he actually voices another anime that people might not know, Great Teacher Onizuka.
Oh yeah.
But he wasn't using his real name because I think it was union issues or something like that. Gotcha. But so he went under a different name.
See, all these behind the scenes things, and I mean, like, you know, we talked about the Wild Wild West of, like, you know, anime, you know, distribution, but like even the dubbing was some Wild Wild West stuff. Like, you know. Sometimes you didn't even know who dubbed this.
That whole Robotech stuff is a mess.
Oh, I love it's crazy. No, I watched that and I'm like, yo, this is a mess.
That joint's all over the place. That joint's a mess.
No, I love it though. Yeah, actually Robotech. I think Robotech had a fantastic, like, dubbing for it.
I know Robotech people give or Macross.
No, Robotech. Harmony Gold. That's another rule over here. No, people give Harmony Gold slack for, you know, like, you know, ruining the authenticity of it, but my goodness, again, let's celebrate the ingenuity that you had to craft a story from these different sort of like episodes, and I mean, it's some talent and it's some skills of, like, all right, so and so is gonna be this person's gonna be the commander, and we'll just do this.
I mean, it was all over the place.
It was, but I
the
followed
Saban Super Sentai type of stuff too. Did you know that VR Troopers, the original VR Troopers?
I know
that was cut up.
Something was always up with those. Whenever they transform, it looked mad grainy. Like,
well, the main thing for me was that there were 3 of them, and 2 of them only could be together at the same time. The other one would always be gone.
Exactly. But again, it was so clever. They were like, we got to send you to different places so you can fight different things. So again, sometimes you have to think and be like, all right, how are we gonna do this? Like,
I was. They didn't ever. VR Troopers didn't even get canceled. They just ran out of footage.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's amazing.
It's like, we can't cut up anymore.
Some of these things again were just wild, and some of the backstory is more interesting than the actual series. But I remember VR Troopers. I remember Big Bad Beetleborgs too.
I wasn't into that one. My friend, he got into it.
I wasn't either. Like, but I just remember they were really pushing it. But
the series that it's part of is like vast. It's like it's part of some cyber beetle there's a whole other genre.
That's crazy
behind it, and some of those are real serious.
And see, this is where I guess people can talk about localization or like changing things where you miss out on like you said, a vast world of like great content and stuff like that. I'm just getting into Kamen Rider. I actually
Kamen Rider Black and Black RX.
Yeah,
to watch those.
And that was and speaking of that, like the Masked Rider was like Kamen Rider Black, wasn't it?
Yeah, Kamen Rider Black. It was Black and Black RX, I think.
Oh
my god! I mean, the idea that I thought it was so dope that and over here they tied it to Power Rangers though. Like it was a spin off of that, but they kind of failed, doing it.
And actually, last week I just watched Hokkaido, which I've only heard of it from watching a little bit of YouTube and stuff like that, and looking at not Sentai, but not Sentai, but like henshin characters and stuff. And they were talking about like Hokkaido, and so I was watching that. So I'm kind of getting into those a little late. I actually got the Kamen Rider manga over there. So. Man, I forgot where we going with these things, man.
Tangent counter.
Tangent. Yeah. We need to do a counter of how many times I lose my place. We deviate. But yes, do you have a question for me while I look at my questions? We tell the truth over here.
So what was your first what was your first sub that you remember? Like one of the earliest ones. What did you say? All right, I'm gonna watch this. I can watch this like this.
Well, see, it's
because you say you watch Haji no Ippo, and did you watch it dub first? And obviously, I think when it sounds like subs, like
I watched the sub first, yeah. But again, like if I can, like. We talked a little bit about it. I'm not on this show, but like Kenichi's
History Strongest Disciple, Kenichi.
Actually, I watched that sub too first.
I watched that sub.
Yeah, first. And then I listened to and I was like, no, I can't do this. I'm trying to think of one that I watched. Well, I mean, I guess Ronin Kenshin. Like, I can do either way. Like, I can really do either way. Baki.
Baki.
So Baki. Of course, the first sort of DVD. No, actually, let me take that back. The second DVD sort of where they was from I think ADV Film, where they were bringing it over. That was in English, and so I was watching that. They had like subs on there, but I was like, no, let me just watch it. But the new one, I'm like, I actually really like the Japanese version. I can really kind of take that or leave that, but for that type of kind of content, I actually really like the Japanese version. Same thing with like Kengan Ashura. That really because I know I'm gonna get that.
I never even tried to watch Kengan Ashura in Japanese, and I never even thought about it for some reason.
It's not bad, and again that whole like Yakuza type of like business.
I'm sure it's good. I just I don't know. There's a lot. I have a lot of love for specifically, and we go back to Ocean Dub. I just think the Canadian actors, the little things that nuances that they did.
Oh, absolutely.
And I felt like they treated it with a way where like I don't know, it makes everything so maybe because it's nostalgia, but I also felt like they did a good job with it.
Yeah.
Some in some instances too good of a job. I think the original voice actor for Goku, I think they ended up replacing him because he sounded too cool.
I like the original one,
but he doesn't. He kind of doesn't fit Goku because Goku's supposed to be a simpleton, right? At the end of the day, but he kind of came across Goku as like this cool guy.
Mom gave him enough spankings when he was a kid.
Yeah, the creep. You'd think he'd want to make up for lost time. He never even took me out to a ball game.
You're right.
That's why I liked him.
He was like too cool.
This whole like, hi, I'm Goku.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, dude, I want that. Like, I don't know. Like, I like the first.
He never even took me to a baseball game. Yeah, like he was like really cool. I was like, yo, this guy's.
Yeah. Voice actors nowadays, especially with like dubs, do you think that not like just going to serving the purpose, Do you think that dubs are actually giving voice actors their sort of due, like right now? People, because of internet and social media, people know now these voice actors by name. Do you think that's a win for dubs? Do you think that's the reason why people are like, I'm a dub person all the way. My favorite voice actor is doing it. I support everything they do.
Oh man, that's a good question. Yes, because you got some who even deal with like controversy, like Vic Mignogna. He has a lot of fans. I'm a fan, you know.
Yeah.
And people will follow him wherever he goes, whatever. And it ties into the voiceover, but it also ties into these very popular series that. You get a series that's good enough, then you want to know who's behind. You want to know everyone involved. It's like watching a good movie. Who was the director of that movie? You know, if you care about that kind of stuff. Who was the producer?
Yeah.
So that's why they say producer of such and such, because people like to associate that stuff. It's like so it's like, yo, who, Fullmetal Alchemist was popular. Who voiced Edward Elric? Okay, this guy Vic Mignogna, and then you're kind of hearing him in other things. That's probably he's in Orange High School, High School Club or whatever, and then he was in a lot of other things. He was the original voice of the new Broly. And I didn't even know that was him because he actually did a really good job of that. Like Johnny Young Box, he was the Black Ranger, Adam the Black Ranger. He's Vash the Stampede. He's Ichigo from Bleach. He's actually Nero in video games. So now you start to build this resume. You have a following people. There'll be people who follow you, but then there might be people who don't necessarily follow you. But once they know you enough that when they know you're on a project, I know he's gonna do a good job.
No, and I think and I mean now with like knowing the actors, I can kind of see why more people would prefer dub and be like, yo. But at the other side of the spectrum,
in my experience, if you watch things dubbed and you're a fan, you're more likely to know who the voice actors are. Yeah. Absolutely. If you watch strictly subs, there's a couple of y'all weebs out there who'll be like,
a couple of weebs
who follow this kind of stuff and like, no, I'm joking, but
is it weeb to know?
It's not weeb to know, but I just feel like if you're watching the sub, you got to have those people that will know who that actor is. But then I think the majority of them don't. They just want to watch it. And
I would agree with you because I'll definitely be one of it because even though I loved Hajime no Ippo, the Japanese version, I was not being like, yo, I love this guy's voice. Who is it? I unfortunately didn't do that.
Yeah.
But looking up who voices Vash the Stampede, and then finding out he was the Black Ranger, finding out he was Kaneda from Akira, like all these things.
He was. Well, they redid it.
No, well, so the second coming,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. He was in the first one. I don't know.
The first one was? No. It was Cam Clark, the original Leonardo.
Really?
Yeah, from the 80s.
I just remember
89.
I just remember these mugs just sort of like kind of jacking up the name. They're like they were like Kaneda. We were like, what are you doing, Kaneda? And
that's not a bad name though.
I don't know. Like for some reason, even before I knew, even before I knew, I was like, that don't sound too right. Actually, I take that back. I watched the second one before I watched the first one.
Oh, well, the first one I've seen decades ago.
Yeah, no, that the second one was my first introduction to it, and then I watched the first one on VHS, and they're like, let's hit it, Kaneda.
If you go backwards, it's always gonna hit like weird and like.
And I totally forgot about this from our last episode where we were talking about how Studio Ghibli has celebrities doing it. One of them, and I forgot to mention some honorable mentions or one of them for Castle on the Sky. The guy from Dawson's Creek did his voice. That's the jam. Oh, you hitting? Okay. Yeah, you got a harmony.
I'm gonna ask our producer off camera. I just want. Do you know what a trapper keeper is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't wanna wait for my trapper keeper be over the race with my trapper.
Okay. All right.
Young buck.
Oh, okay. All right.
Listen.
Actually, my mom made us use that.
Trapper keeper.
Gotcha.
She's like, this is the best thing that was ever invented.
I was in a conversation with somebody who was my age, and they was like, well, I've never heard of Trapper Keeper before. And I was like, Back to the show.
Back to the show. I don't want to wait. It's the jam. Yeah, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh yeah, so I was quick to look up these voice actors and be like, oh, he did that? Oh man. And then there were some actors where you wouldn't even guess what they did. You'd be like, oh my goodness, he played again. I thought I probably said this, but like finding out that the guy who did, and you'll definitely say his name, Brock, also voiced, Kaiba.
He was Galway Gabrielle in Slayers.
Yeah,
as well.
and so like my first introduction to him. Yeah, he's a jelly donut. My first introduction was that it's a jelly donut. Brock, that was my guy. That's still my guy. And so just to find out, like, he did like, Kaiba, this very serious start. It took me a while to notice that. Yeah. So I was because of dubs, I was a lot quicker to look up who these people were and excited when I saw their name on the thing. Ty from Digimon, he did the voice for Akira. And he also, when I first got introduced to him, he was Ty from Digimon. I forget his name. He has a very young voice.
Joshua Seth.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually is a hypnotist now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. No. Honestly, if I was to pick anybody to voice, any young character, I'd be like, oh yeah, call up him. Yeah, absolutely.
Except Obasi, because I am Obasi.
Yeah, no. Get out of here with that. No, absolutely. But I think dub. I mean, what we talked about, dubs and subs serve all sorts of different purposes and stuff like that. That sort of brought us closer to the culture when you're watching subtitles, and then also brought us closer and getting the getting the voice actors a little bit more recognition, because as we said before, it was a wild west. There were certain, again, people we didn't even know, like they'd be like, who voiced him? Be like, I don't know. All I know is they paid me $10 to say this line. I think it was this guy named Pete. Yeah. And then you look on his Wikipedia and there's like, no, I mean, some of this stuff is like totally lost in time and stuff like that. So I think now voice actors are kind of getting their due based off of dubs, and they're almost becoming celebrities now. Yeah. They get invited to, they always were invited to panels, but now it's really kind of celebrated and stuff. So
I feel like in the anime community they were all the more popular ones. They were always.
You're right, but mainstream. I mean, anime is becoming very mainstream nowadays. So now these people are.
It's weird because I feel like even though anime is more mainstream, you're less likely. I don't want to say you're less likely, because it's like there's so many voiceover artists now, so that sometimes you might always catch them, and that's why I feel like there's this whole thing about some of them are really popular, getting a lot of money, and then some are doing a lot, but they're still not getting, they're just digital projects, and you may know them if you follow them. But obviously, the ones who are more popular are the ones that are more known over here are the dub actors. You don't really see. Because otherwise, there would be an idea that we would bring in more guests that were Japanese voiceover over here. There was such a high demand for them to be at these conventions. Yeah, absolutely. Which means that the ones that they're bringing over for these signings and all these kind of things that go into these anime conventions, they're all English speakers, because those are the dubs the ones that people know, because those are the ones that people pay attention to. People want you to watch these subs, and they don't know who these actors are.
Yeah, though. Exactly. You know. Yeah, so it's definitely. So as we wrap up, what's the verdict? Dubs versus subs. Which one is more superior?
Well, if you kind of foresight to go into it, you know that neither one of them are superior to the other. That was the foregone conclusion. It's just that it's based on your own personal preference. But I don't like this narrative that that English speaking are somehow inferior. They're not. It's just the same. It's just do you rather? Can you eat your bowl of cereal and watch it subbed? If you can, cool. If you're not,
yeah.
then don't shame the people that do watch it, because you're walking away with the same experience.
Yeah.
If, you know, in fact, you might get, you know, you'll remember. You might even remember a line better.
Absolutely.
That's because it's dubbed.
I mean, I know for me, a lot of anime that I watch really kind of shaped, you know, even just kind of my writing style.
Yeah.
Certain tropes, you know, definitely watching it. I watched a lot of sub, but as far as writing word for word, it was definitely a lot of the dubbed, because I could write it word for word, the inflection, you know, a lot of that stuff. You know, when we put out the dynamic manga, you're gonna kind of see a little bit of that inflection.
I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, from a voiceover standpoint, when I read a lot of your stuff, I'm reading is that for dub actor, right?
Yeah.
And those jokes when certain things land.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of how I kind of direct my actors to do that too. And some of them they already kind of get it.
Yeah.
You know, when they read it, they're like, oh yeah. You know, just like with, you know, Darius and AK Yumi. It's like,
absolutely. Yeah. No, there's a lot of things that like I know I took away as far as like comedic timing, and then there's certain things that are kind of like that are like subbed that I find hilarious. Like, you know, most of the time it's like, you know, screaming like, wow, like what was that?
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, but I can't write. I don't know how to inflect that. Like, you know, because you're gonna read it in English, so it's gonna be like, what did you say?
Yeah.
But they're not saying what did you say. The inflection is like, you know, like, so they both serve a purpose as far as like, you know, writing style, and I totally agree with you that, you know, the whole, you know, English voiceovers. I mean, they were doing. They introduced a lot of people to anime, and so and it wasn't that bad. Like, I mean, it really wasn't. I mean,
some people act like, oh my god, I just couldn't.
Yeah,
some are bad.
Some of them, and you can, and this is something that, you know, again, this is going to be a theme of just like what we do, but like there are some people that were not voice actors.
Yeah,
that's crazy to think about. They were not voice actors.
That goes a long way.
It goes a long way. I mean, even just for me, kind of looking inside, I can hear and tell the difference between someone who is taking this like craft very seriously. You know, but some people literally were paid $10 to be like, yo, read this, and they're like, what are you doing with this? And they'd be like, oh no,
you know. So yeah, it's funny. Even with like Command Grab, right? I notice, though, I get better takes from actors that aren't even like they're not trying to do an anime type of read. They're just acting, right?
Yeah.
And but then that ends up coming up naturally, and you're still kind of hitting that kind of anime feel or that manga feel, but they're just really just trying to act. They're just kind of going off of. I may tell them to direct them to say it again a certain way, but they still like. Their initial takes are just full of emotion, and that's kind of the point.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And let me just kind of say this, like, I mean, at Lair, like, we are, you know, producing our own original manga, like, you know, and when I say manga, you know, I'm really, really trying to capture that spirit of when you look at it, you know it. But I feel it's gonna be interesting. I mean, we already saw a little bit of it with the dynamic manga, or you will see a little bit of it, but manga that's produced or anime that's produced by an English, you know, kind of or American kind of studio and stuff like that. I think it's going to kind of showcase a little bit more of what you're talking about. Of like, we're taking, you know, we're having that spirit of manga, that spirit of adventure that we loved from, you know, traditional Japanese things, but we're able to sort of infuse it a little bit with kind of like what American voice actors do really well and stuff. So and I feel it's going to be a lot easier. It's not going to be like you only have 3 seconds to say this long word. You know, we'll take that into consideration and something like that. So
that does go a long way.
Like, so I feel it's going to be like really, really cool to try to do that and stuff. So I'm excited.
I will say this, like, there was people was asking, there was an interview with Miyazaki-san, you know, the creator of Studio Ghibli.
I thought his name was Ghibli. No, I'm just joking. fake weave. Fake weave.
People asked him, they said, what language should I watch your movies in? And he said, you watch the movies in whatever language you speak natively.
Interesting.
If you're an English speaker, watch my movies in English. Wow. If you watch and so forth.
That's interesting.
So yeah,
that's very interesting.
I've never watched a Studio Ghibli movie in Japanese. It's kind of funny.
Oh wow, yeah. Only one, and that was very. And that it's so crazy.
No, what did I just say? Did I just say I never watched it in English?
You've never watched it in Japanese?
Okay, yeah. All right.
But no, I watched, and it's a very obscure one, but it's very Japanese. And I actually watched it in English first, and then I watched it in Japanese, and it made so much more sense. Like,
what was it?
Give me 1 second.
As we wrap up. I'm gonna have to cut out this noise in there, dude.
My bad. Where was it? My neighbors, the Yamadas.
I know about that one.
It was it's about a Japanese family. And again, I watched it in English first, and then I watched it in Japanese, and I enjoyed it so much better. And it wasn't this superiority thing. It was just like, the cultural and Studio Ghibli does a great job of like movement and stuff like that. So when they used to like either stub their toe, they'd be like, it was like this bounce, and they'd be like, and it was amazing. So, and again, from an animator's point of view, like I don't know where I was going with that, but well, no, just the movement. But I realized I wasn't talking about just the movement. Anyway.
No. But yeah, I mean, so I guess the overarching thing is that watch what you want to watch.
Yes, which I think the quote from Miyazaki is watch kind of what you want, and like if you
his was more like watching in your language. I'm saying just watch what you want.
That's true, yeah. But no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Well, I mean, it's kind of to piggyback off of like watch what you feel comfortable watching. If you feel you retain the information more in this and stuff like that.
But you're walking away with this. I think you're walking away with the same information.
That's true, yeah. But if it hits harder, like there was a line in Jujutsu Kaisen that was like, the volcano guy was like, now it's time to go and spread the truth through like power and stuff like that. It gave me more chills watching it in Japanese because it sounds so poetic. But when Americans said it, we don't really kind of talk in those poetic kind of ways of like, waxing poetically and stuff like that, of like, not in this time. Like, I feel it's a very old-timey way.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I mean, I'm just, listen,
like Tadewaki Kuno, he spoke.
That's my man right there.
He speaks in Japanese poems, right? Poetry.
True, yeah.
And that hits probably different to a speaker, right? Yeah. But when they translated the dub, they had him speaking Shakespeare instead.
That's true.
And it just hit a little better
it did.
Into an English speaker that understands, especially if you know a little bit of Shakespeare.
That's true, but Shakespeare is a very old language. So one of the funny things that made it stand out was he was using very like old English. He was like, you Spangali.
They fought for the privilege of your company, Akane. If they could manage to defeat you, that is. What fools these mortals be.
Yeah.
Which again, I was like, it's a Spangali, but it's so
Ted Cole is a very underrated voice of arts. All of them, Ocean dub art. He is the original voice of Yamcha.
It looks as though we're in a different league altogether than your little green goon squad. What do you say I just take on the other 4 by myself?
Ocean dub, just call us. Like, just call us. We'll get something popping. We'll get something popping. So, but in conclusion.
In conclusion, dynamic manga is going to be dubbed in English, at least initially.
That's true, yeah, and of course, we want people to see our work.
Take those glasses off.
It will be never. Listen, but yes, dynamic manga. Remember that is coming out when.
2023.
So look out for that. And as always, you can order your Go Ganzi book at Lair. moonlairstudios.com. And stay up. I totally forgot. Stay up with us on our social media page. Mine is moonlair_studios at Instagram.
And I'm just gonna flash at the top.
Nice. There you go.
No, it's OKAMIANIKI for Okami Anarchy, and COMMANDGRAB_ENT.
Nice. There you go.
Command Grab Entertainment.
So there you have it. There you go.
Until next time, guys. Later days. Cool.
I gotta come up with a better one. So, all right, you guys, take it easy.